G'day and welcome back to the channel. Well, things are getting very interesting here in New Zealand, where tomorrow will be the third month, the third month of the 1 week investigation into some of my flying activities depicted in my YouTube videos on my YouTube channel. Yes, that's right. If you haven't been up with the play, Civil Aviation contacted me and said, we've had complaints about some of your videos, and then they sent me a questionnaire I had to fill out. Well, I didn't have to, but I chose to provide them with answers to some of their questions about the videos concerned, and I did a video on it, and if you go to the description you'll find a link to that if you're new to this whole subject. So I responded to their request for information, filled out the responses, sent it away. It was supposed to take about a week. The investigator said it should take me about a week. Tomorrow, as I say, marks the beginning of the third month of this investigation. Apparently the report was done and it's been sitting on someone's desk for nearly a month. So someone in CAA has a desk that is so full of stuff that it's backlogged by at least a month. Is that acceptable? I don't think. I know I've employed a lot of people through the years because I've had a lot of businesses, and I would never accept somebody who has a 1 month backlog on their desk. They're not working efficiently. If that's the case, either we need more people on the job or that person needs to sort out their workflow so as to make sure things don't linger on your desk that long. Because what do they have to do? Read a report, tick it, send it out. It's not like they have to go through massive meetings and have decisions and making. There's no, in the critical path, the only thing is them. They are the only point on the critical path, and they're not performing. So what can I say? We just have to wait. But now it gets even more interesting because today I got another call from CAA. Yes, and the Karen who reported my original videos has reported another one, and it's not even my video, is it? Because it is this one. It is the one where I found an SD card in the park and put it up on my YouTube channel. Who was that? I've no idea. And the only reason I put it up is because from the way I look at it, it was a very safe piece of flying. I couldn't see that it endangered any person, any property, or certainly no aircraft. So I was quite surprised that CAA wouldn't just look at the video and dismiss it. But no, got a call from the investigator, not the same investigator that originally contacted me, but a new investigator. And he said, can we have that SD card, please, for evidence? And I said, well, no. It was a card I found, but I knew I wasn't going to get hold of the owner because there was no name on it. So I simply reformatted it. I've used it myself. And he said, well, can we still have it? And I said, well, no, because it's a SanDisk 32 gig and it's in the pile of SanDisk 32 gig cards that I own. I don't know which one it is, so I can't send it to you. I'm not sending you all my cards. There's no reason for that, besides which if it's been reformatted and reused, there'll be nothing on there. It's not like a magnetic disk where traces remain. Once you've overwritten a cell in a flash ROM or a flash RAM, it's gone forever. So I don't think they would be getting into forensics anyway for something like this flight. But then one of the reasons I'm making this video, something really, really interesting happened. Now, with the investigation, the original investigation, I was very keen to find out whether CAA prioritised safety over compliance, because they're two separate things. Anyone who relies on compliance to achieve safety is a fool, an utter fool, because rules do not create safety. They can assist in creating safety, but they're not the guarantee of safety. You can do things within the rules that endanger people. Trust me, I know. So I was very keen to talk to this new investigator who identified himself as Doug. And I said, Doug, you've looked at the video you're talking to me about. Do you see anything in there that represents a danger to aviation? And you could have knocked me down with a feather when he replied with a very firm yes. What? Seriously? This is obviously taken from, what we're looking at is stuff from a metre above the ground, through trees, well away from people, through trees, and I don't think, besides which the other point is, you don't even see a drone in that video. How do you know it's a drone? Could be a kid on a bicycle. So, CAA have a policy that they don't usually prosecute or fine based on video evidence because it's generally inconclusive. And in this case, I don't know whose SD card it was. And we don't even know that there was a drone because all you got is a picture of the outside world. There's no picture of a drone. Yet CAA are wasting time, money, effort on investigating this case when they should have taken one look at that video and said, nothing to see here, move along. So why are they wasting these resources, especially when you consider they don't seem to have a lot of resources to spare, or my 1 week investigation wouldn't have taken over 2 months, would it? So something doesn't pass the sniff test, if you ask me. And why? I'm pretty sure that the person complaining this time is the same Karen that complained last time, is someone who has got it in for me, and they want to use CAA as a really, really convenient tool for annoying me. And I said to the guy, I said to Doug, I said, look, Doug, are you aware that CAA is being used by somebody to victimise me? And doesn't that concern you? And his response was, nothing to do with me. I've got a job. I've been given this to investigate. That's what I'm doing. I know nothing about any other investigations. And CAA is a big organisation and we don't talk to each other. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, okay then. So you don't care that CAA may be used as a tool for victimisation. That's not a very good attitude to take. Firstly, you cannot tell when something's safe and when it's not. That's not a good level of ability for someone who's supposed to be an investigator. And you are telling me that you don't give a damn if CAA is being abused simply to victimise somebody. I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. So what did I do? Well, I thought I'm going to talk to someone further up the food chain at CAA. So I put a call into CAA, said I'd like to talk to someone about this. They said, we'll put you through to the investigations department. I said, no, I don't want to talk to the investigations department. I want to talk to who's in charge of the investigations department. So I got put through to a personal assistant of a chap in CAA, apparently is further up the food chain. And she said, oh, well, he's not available. Can I email you with the time when you can call him? Basically book in a phone call, right? I did relate the whole situation, how this 1 week investigation's dragged into its 3rd month now, and I did not think that was acceptable at all because I am a figurehead in the community. This is a slight on my reputation. As long as I'm under investigation, it's tarnishing my reputation as someone who preaches from the safety sermon book. So I'm not happy with that. And I also took CAA at their own at face value when they told me it should take a week, and that's into the 3rd month. So I said, okay, then she was going to email me with a time I could ring. I got the email. Well, I'm afraid not only does it take over 2 months to do a 1 week report, but if you want to talk to someone, it takes a week to get a phone appointment. Seriously, what are they doing? What are they doing in CAA? And I would have thought, given that this has dragged on for so long and that I've got grave concerns that CAA is being abused to victimise me, I would have thought this would have been prioritised a little bit higher than, oh, you can call us sometime next week, here's a time or a date, I would have thought that they would have wanted to jump on this and say, oh, look, I'm sorry, we have not met the levels of performance that we expect from ourselves. How can we put this right? No, it's a case of, look at the massive pile of scones and biscuits and coffee I've got to get through. I can't possibly talk to anyone for another week. That's the impression I get anyway. It's just an opinion, just an honest opinion. I think it's unacceptably bad. Remember, these people are charged with keeping the airspace safe, but they can't organise their workflows, they can't meet their own commitments in terms of timeframes, and when someone comes with a genuine, really important concern, next week. I'm sorry, it's not good enough. CAA, it's not good enough. So where do I go from here? What can I do? Well, I'm just one guy. I haven't given any phone numbers or anything like that because I don't want people just obviously harassing Doug as they did with Chris. Poor old Chris, he got the short end of the stick there because people weren't happy. But Doug's doing his job, Chris is doing his job, and I'm sure this other guy, this head of the department is doing his job, but not well enough. You're still very well to do your job, but you should do it much better than you're doing it. I don't think these timeframes are acceptable. Maybe people out there disagree. And since I got the short end of the stick from the FAA, my tolerance of incompetence in bureaucracy has fallen a lot this week. You don't ring us, don't annoy us. We'll take our good time, but we'll steal your videos if it suits us. That's the regulator's approach. Rules relating to decency and copyright don't apply to those who make the rules, and it seems that CAA should not be held to its own timeframes. So, fair enough. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to make their job a whole lot easier. Now, the thing that really concerned me when I spoke to Doug is that he believed that compliance was the key. You got to be compliant with the regulations. The regulations say you got to comply. Because I said to him, well, what was wrong in that video? And he said, well, someone was flying BVLOS. I said, BVLOS? How do you work that out? He said, well, they had FPV goggles on and they were flying, so they were flying beyond visual line of sight. They couldn't see where they were flying. They should have had an observer. And I said, well, there could have been an observer there behind a tree, couldn't there? Or if the observer was behind a tree, they couldn't observe properly. I said, well, what was there to observe? There was no planes around. It was, below the knee height most of the flight. What's the problem? It doesn't matter. It is, the regulation says you've got to do this, you've got to do that. I said, so safety doesn't matter. And he basically came back with the pitch that, you've got to be compliant to be safe. And I don't believe that for one instant. Absolutely untrue. You can be compliant and totally unsafe. A bunch of suits in a tall high-rise building in the capital city of this country cannot possibly consider all the contingencies, all the factors, all the elements that go to make a safe scenario. So they either over-regulate or they come up with regulations that do not guarantee safety. Neither of those is acceptable. Remember, you're dealing with people's freedoms. You should not remove a freedom unless there's a very good reason. And I think we've proven over many years that people have been flying FPV without an observer. How many have died as a result of that? How many have died? Yet, how many people have died flying manned aircraft and had a mid-air collision because they didn't have an observer in the passenger seat to keep an eye out? How many? There's been quite a few, actually. So why would FPV flyers need an observer when they're not endangering anybody, yet the pilot in the driver's seat of a Cessna 172 doesn't need an observer, even though there have been countless mid-air collisions caused by a lack of situational awareness because no one's looking out the side for other planes. I'm sorry, it doesn't cut ice with me. You guys are not performing and you're making up ridiculous regulations that do not provide for safety. But there we go, that's just me. That's just me. So what am I going to do about this? Well, here's my plan. I'm going to put up a video very shortly in which I will break the regulations. I'll break CAR 101.209. This is the bit that says you must have an observer when you're flying FPV. I'm going to put up an egregious breach of that regulation. Absolutely egregious. How am I going to do that? I'm going to fly this in my backyard with the goggles on without an observer. Yep. I'm going to fly around my garden with this in my backyard with my goggles on, no observer. That is a breach of CAR 101.209. And according to Doug, that endangers the national airspace, right? It endangers aviation doing that. So we don't know who was in that video with the SD card I found, but you will know because I will confess right up front to flying this in my garden with goggles on with no observer. And CAA will have to take action because I will call on you guys to lay a complaint. I will give you an email address. You can contact and say, I saw an egregious breach of the civil aviation regulations 101.209 in this video. I wish you to take action. And I'm going to put CAA's hand to the fire. Come on, if they reckon that compliance is so important and it guarantees safety, then I want to go to court. I want to talk to a judge. I want to ask a judge why I am being faced with a court prosecution for this. Because under CAA's regulations, there is no minimum cutoff. It's not like Canada, where if you're under 250 grams, your only requirement is to not endanger people or property. In New Zealand, the same rules that apply to a fully loaded 14 kilogram DJI Matrice with its flesh-cleaving carbon props and massive lipo batteries, the same rules apply to this. Yet CAA tell us their rules are risk-based, which is a load of bullshit, obviously. The risk of flying this in my garden is nothing like the risk of flying a Matrice over a crowd of people, obviously. Yet, same rules apply. So, that's what we're going to do. We're going to hold CAA's hand to the fire. I've tried to get hold of CAA, tried to dialogue with them, tried to explain things. They're not interested. The investigators cannot recognise when something's safe or unsafe. They're working from a little policy book and a little flowchart, I suppose, and they just do what they're told to do. The regulations that make it illegal for me to fly this in my own garden FPV without a spotter are 5 years old. The technology has come on immensely. When those regulations were first cast, you didn't have models this small. You know, you couldn't fly FPV in something this small and lightweight, but you can now. So those rules need to change, and I've been lobbying for a change in those rules for quite some time, but CAA, not interested. Not interested. They're too busy probably drinking coffee and eating biscuits, which is why my report is still in progress. So let's hold them to the fire. Let's say, time to actually face up to what you're doing. You're not doing your job properly, and this is absolutely patently ridiculous. And I want a chance to show a judge how stupid these rules are, and this is the way we do it. If we can get thousands of people complaining about my video, and they have to investigate, and if they don't take me to court or don't find me, don't take action against me, then they're saying that, okay, Mr. Simpson, you're right, safety is more important than compliance. If they do take action and find me, I'll take it to court, and we'll let a judge see just how ridiculous these damn stupid rules are 5 years after they were made, and why they need an overhaul. There we go. CAA, I didn't ask you to be stupid like this, but you were. I've given you every opportunity to actually do the right thing. You've chosen not to. So this is where we go from here. I wish regulators around the world just used a bit more common sense. That's what they expect from the people they regulate, but they show none themselves. There you go. I've made so many friends today. People will be spitting coffee and throwing biscuits all around the office at the moment, and I don't really give a damn. It's time someone stood up and called out the regulators for their stupidity and their lack of pragmatism and their arrogance. There we go. What do you think? Go to the commenty bit now. And watch out for the video I'll be putting up very shortly, and I'll be wanting you to report it to the authorities for the egregious breach of rules and the huge danger that breach represents to the safety of the national airspace here in New Zealand. There we go, folks. At least you get some excitement here on the XJet channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my Patreon supporters. You're the guys that will buy the files that I'll use to cut the bars and get out of prison. Excellent. Thank you very much. Time for me to get back to work and take some more Parkinson's medication. Bye for now.